Are we at one of those moments in history in which there is the necessity for a new world order?
I think a new world order is emerging, and with it the foundations of a new and progressive era of international cooperation.
There's a need for a new world order.
President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
The purely strategic and military problems that the shift in power relationships brings will confuse us if we do not consider that we have to bring about, together with other countries, a different consciousness of what a world order is.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order.
But I think that at the end of this administration, with all its turmoil, and at the beginning of the next, we might actually witness the creation of a new order, because
we cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded.
The Council on Foreign Relations, I don't know if I'm an official member. I've spoken there before. It basically is just a forum where a bunch of people talk about foreign policy. And so there's nothing, there's no official membership. I don't have a card or, handshake or anything like that.
We've got to give them a stake in creating the kind of world order that I think all of us would like to see.
If you turn on the television for 10 minutes, there is no doubt that Obama is the candidate favored by the controlled corporate media.
Yes, he is anointed. It is an endless worship fest, and I watched him in Europe quite a bit over the weekend on C-SPAN raw footage. He is bumbling. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I know a lot of high school seniors in government class that could speak more eloquently than him, and that is upsetting to me.
You're exactly right. But the choice that's being made is, of course, being made by Wall Street, and it's being made by our old friends, the Trilateral, Rockefeller, Bilderberger, Council on Foreign Relations, Rand Corporation, Chicago Schools, Skull and Bones, Ford Foundation, you name it. They have all lined up behind Obama in a way that is unprecedented. You've got a unified oligarchical front now around Obama. McCain is barely mentioned. Hillary Clinton was swept aside. Others swept aside.
An example is McCain lands in New Hampshire, and there's one reporter and one photographer. Everywhere Obama goes, thousands.
Now, and you're exactly right. And there's a reason for this, though. Why do they support Obama? What's the reason? It is because he is the puppet who is most puppet.
He's like Bush, who they know they can fully control.
Yes, maybe even more so than Bush. He's somebody who's been raised literally up out of nothing by these trilateral people. My personal hypothesis is that Obama was recruited by Zbigniew Brzezinski at Columbia University between 1981 and 1983. They had just finished up with Carter. You'll remember that Zbigniew Brzezinski and Volcker ran the catastrophic Carter administration.
And then pinned it all on him when he was well-meaning.
Yes, and that's also an aspect of why they've chosen Obama, because Obama's not well-meaning. Obama is a boiling cauldron of hate. But back there in Columbia in 81 to 83, they were looking around for a puppet, a Manchurian candidate, assets, and of course they had a broad choice. Didn't have to be just Obama. They picked others to deploy into a political upsurge in this country approximately now, 2008, 2010, 2020. And Obama was one of the political properties that they picked up. So they have been grooming him and indoctrinating him.
By the way, I'm backing you up. Dr. Dennis Cuddy has done a whole book on all these famous people. When they're in college, they'll be in the lunch line, and David Rockefeller will be there, or Zbigniew Brzezinski will be there, or Henry Kissinger. They go pick who they want.
And that, I think, that is my thesis, is that that's what happened with Obama, and therefore all the wonderful coincidences and magic events of his life are guided by that fine trilateral hand behind the scenes. But now, ultimately, why do they need him today? Basically, two things. The entire phase of Islamofascism, war on terror, post 9/11, I believe is exhausted. I think they're gone into a new phase.
The fake environmental Malthusian, the Russians are a threat.
Yes, it's Russia, China, Malthusian, Unabomber kind of stuff, but then it's also human rights, humanitarian concerns, and left cover. We're going from a phase of right-wing cover imperialism to a phase of left-wing cover imperialism. This is why so many of our left liberal friends have not been able to understand this, because they regard all of this as progress. They think that it's something going in the right direction. And, of course, it's not.
By the way, the Romans would do this in their different protectorates and new places they'd taken over. They would put a thug in for 5-10 years to murder, kill, stab. Then they would publicly flog him, execute him, apologize, and then rise up somebody from that local area in Germania or Gaul or there in areas of Austria, or it could be in more Asian areas. And then they would raise up a local who on the surface would act like he was friendly to the people, but who would actually intensify taxation and control.
Excellent. And in the case of Brzezinski, you can say this is the Hegelian dialectic. This is one of those cases where you can actually see the Hegelian dialectic at work. Brzezinski's teacher is a guy called Carl Friedrichs. And
so he has a degree in Hegelian dialectic.
Yes, and Friedrichs is a historian. He wrote The Age of the Baroque. He's a historian of the 30 Years' War.
As a professor of the Hegelian dialectic.
Yeah, and Brzezinski is a student at McGill University with this guy and of course, with others. And essentially what they've said is you can't keep going with the right-wing stuff. You can't do Bush-Cheney neocons. Right now here in Washington, Bush-Cheney neocons are finished. They're out. They have no influence. They're a laughingstock. They're going to jail. They're done. And their policies are out, too. And we could go through that.